Good morning. My name is Doug Rink. I'm a Montgomery County resident, and I appreciate the board taking this time to hear what I have to say and ask. My question this morning is about the SPLOST and where the money is going to be spent or prioritized. The list of allowed uses is quite long. The different constituencies in the county seem to have different impressions of where the money's going to be spent. And I'd like to know from you exactly how much of what's listed in the potential list of projects, either the one published by the chamber, which differs slightly from yours in the resolution, or the resolution can actually be fulfilled by this SPLOST. There's talk in the community that this is a recreation SPLOST, that the money is going for a rec center, it's going for, the majority of the money is going for a rec center, pickleball courts, and that sort of thing. There's a Facebook post posted by Brady West, who happens to be on the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Attention all parents and community members who showed up at the courthouse and gave us a town hall meeting to support a multi-court rec center. The SPLOST renewal vote next month is going to fulfill our long-awaited question of when we would finally have a facility similar to other surrounding counties. If this passes, the commissioners have pledged to start building a facility within the next year. And I don't say that in the same paragraph, it says this bulletin from the chamber does a great job of explaining how this helps our community and helps our property taxes from being higher. Now, the chamber's bulletin, that was just published in the Times Courier as well as on the West Post, does mention the Parks and Rec Center as one of the top priorities.
Well, I welcome the opportunity to address all that. Let me say, first of all, the primary focus of this SPLOST, over and above anything and everything else, is the payment of the debt that we currently have and will have for another about 6 years or so. This SPLOST has been used for about 20 years now to pay the debt service on that. And this SPLOST is coming up will be the last one necessary for that. And I personally look forward to getting that off of our backs. I do want to say, because there's a lot of miscommunication out there, I think, that it is absolutely essential. Everything else aside, it is absolutely essential that this SPLOST be passed. The bonds that we have, our property tax has been pledged for that. We don't have, there is no default. So without this, our only recourse is to increase a combination of increasing and taxes, decreasing expenses. I like to think that we've decreased expenses every year as much as we reasonably can, because last year we had to cut $5 million out of the requested budgets. Now, if this is not passed, I believe the figure I saw was if you're paying $1,000 now for this county government portion of property tax, and this does not pass, you can expect to pay $1,500 next year. And if you're paying more than that, then you'll pay correspondingly more. In other words, your taxes are going to go up by at least half. In addition to that, the citizens of this county will shoulder 100% of the burden for that. Right now, we have a good, healthy tourism factor here, and those folks pay an awful lot toward that. So not only is our taxes and property tax going to increase, but we will now be responsible for all of it, whereas at this point, we're getting some help from the tourists. So that alone makes it absolutely essential that this pass. Now, moving on from that, we have to give a list of anything that could be approved that this money could be used for. We get pretty liberal with that.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of stuff on there that I have no idea we'll do anything with, but better to have it on there and not need it than otherwise. So, you know, we throw in anything we think we might want to use it for. There are some things that we're more serious about than others. Recreation is one of those. The animal shelter is one of those. Those are the two biggies outside of the debt service. If you're somebody who doesn't care about recreation, and there's a number of people in the county that don't, that's not going to sit well with you. On the other hand, everybody can't get exactly what they want, and nobody else get what those folks want. I've often said that running any kind of government is a balancing act. Everybody has their thing. You've heard me say this before. For some people, for a lot of people, roads are their thing. For a lot of people, recreation is their thing. You name it, you know, it's somebody's interest. I've also found that with relatively few exceptions, whatever your thing is, it's basically about all you care about.
Yeah.
So if recreation is not your thing, and you see recreation on there, you know, you may get upset. You have to stop and remember that there are people out there that recreation is their thing, and they have just as much right to recreation as you do to roads or whatever is your thing. So, you know, we're trying to put as much as we can in there reasonably for everybody. That said, in terms of the complex, I forget what he called it, multi-factor, whatever he said on that. We have always said we'll build it. And we've said we'll build it the same way we built a swimming pool. We'll save our money up and when we get our money saved up, we'll build it. That's a little different from a swimming pool. We had to save about 4 years to get that swimming pool. We're probably looking at 15 years to save up for something like this. This is an opportunity, I believe, to include that in there and be able to go ahead and provide that. I will say unequivocally that I personally am adamantly opposed to any kind of debt that would extend beyond the limits of this SPLOST. That said, if the SPLOST passes and this is a 6-year SPLOST, and we issue bonds for, say, 5 years, pay down, there's no reason why we can't go ahead and build that complex. We would be essentially issuing bonds for money that we expect to be coming in over the next 5 years to pay that off. And when that SPLOST expires, there will be no more debt. It's not going to be long-term debt anymore for me. We have the same situation for the animal shelter. We have a critical need to expand the animal shelter right now. We have some funding for that, but it's not nearly enough to do what needs to be done. So, to my knowledge, those are the only two things that we've actually talked about going ahead and doing right away if the SPLOST is passed. For both of those, we may issue bonds for that. They will not extend beyond the expiration of the SPLOST. And we can go ahead and get something done for the people relatively quickly. And I don't recall saying we'd have to build a year. I don't think that's possible. But we can get started on it. And we can go ahead and build for people something that they might be 15, 20 years waiting on otherwise. And we can let the visitors to the county pay for a part of it rather than us keep saving our money here to pay for all of it. So for myself, I'm good with issuing bonds for those two projects if the SPLOST is passed, and assuming that the interest rate does not exceed what's in the in the referendum there, and that the duration of those bonds does not extend beyond SPLOST. Now, a lot of people are assuming that this is going to be another 25-year deal. Not so. So I guess what Brady is saying is true to the extent that I don't know that we would call it a pledge. I think we discussed it would be something we'd like to do. I think that's a little different from a pledge, but I'm not going to argue pointless because it would be my intent to try to go through with that. I think the SPLOST needs to give something to everybody. And traditionally, it's been primarily for debt service and roads. I mean, that, every now and then there may be something else, a fire truck or something like that. But for the most part, anything left over after the debt service in the past has generally gone to roads or road equipment or that sort of thing, with just very few exceptions. We're looking to expand that out a little bit and get something for everybody in this SPLOST. And I'm not at all ashamed to say that if this is passed, that we quite a few people get what they want. A lot of people will see somebody get something that these folks want, but maybe they don't want. That's the way it is. I mean, there's nothing we can do for recreation if there's not somebody out there that's going to say, and I hear it every day, if you just stop doing all this for recreation, you could pave my road. Probably true. But you can't just ignore everybody except one segment. So that's my thing.
I appreciate you putting that on the record because when the SPLOST resolution was passed, the front page of the Times Courier had you, not a direct quote, but attributed as being that this SPLOST is a continuation. SPLOST is for debt retirement and roads. That was the gist of the paragraph.
And that's what it's been in the past.
But it was conveyed as going forward. Maybe if we spend $20 million on a rec center and an additional,
I'm not looking to do that. But
well, I think that's realistic. Those are the figures I'm hearing, 14 to 22 million. And with construction costs, you just never know in this particular time. Same with the animal shelter, another maybe 5 million or 3 million or whatever. If you take 23 million out of SPLOST revenues and you take out the portion for debt service, what is left for the other capital needs that SPLOST has traditionally fulfilled in this county? Where are we going to grab funding for roads? Where are we going to get money that's previously been used for sheriff's patrol vehicles, that sort of thing?
Well, we had the same folks that have helped us in the past when we were refunding these bonds at lower interest rate, the existing bonds. They did a study for us that gave us a number of different scenarios. We picked out most likely. And I don't remember the exact figure, but it's in the resolution somewhere that we would anticipate over 6 years that this block would bring in about $80 million.
How much, please?
80-something.
80-something.
So I believe if you took out, even at your highest figures, let's say 22 million and 27 million, and we got another 20 million, it's nice round figures. That still leaves money for roads.
So about half that would be going for recreation. Of the disposable revenue, or the not disposable, but the where you have the option of where you spend money.
Yeah.
Because you're spending a little less than half for debt service, and then you're splitting the rest between recreation and roads and other capital needs. So you're putting about half into recreation.
We are anticipating that this SPLOST will bring in more than previous SPLOST because, every year it does bring in more. But if those projections hold true, we'll be able to do just as much for roads now, even with this other project, as we have been in the past. Now, if they're falling short, then we'll have to pare back somewhere. But I don't believe that it's right to say this SPLOST is benefiting only those people who want their road paved.
No, I'm not suggesting.
I know, but
I'm not,
a lot of people are.
and I'm not degrading or, in opposition to recreation spending. My intent being here this morning is to get this on the record so that we know what we're talking about. Because we're seeing different things have been said at different times.
Hopefully,
And it's created confusion in the community.
but hopefully I've been very clear. I mean, it's not,
Yeah,
let me know if
yeah.
I'm not clear
I
about it.
would have liked to have heard it a month or two ago, but I think it's, it
Well,
sounds,
it didn't occur to me that people were going to get so bent out of shape about somebody else getting something besides them. But this is where we are.
how soon would you envision, if this passes, would you envision moving forward on those recreation projects and the animal shelter?
If this passes, I would envision moving forward very quickly on it. Now, to say that this recreational center could be built in a year, I don't think it could. If we started the next day, I don't think it'd be done in a year. But
I believe Mr. West said beginning to build.
okay, then I misunderstood. But yeah, I think that would be a very reasonable thing for my. And again, remember, I'm only speaking for me, but for myself, if this passes, I don't see any reason to wait.
John, do you feel the same?
I think it's unfair for you to characterize that half of the SPLOST monies would be used for recreation, and that's what I've heard you say, and I want to clear that up. That's not, that is not at all our intentions.
Well, how much disposable
We don't,
SPLOST money after
we don't
tax
know
you
those,
estimate?
we don't know those numbers at this point, but that's why those things were included in the list. But to unequivocally say that, half of the SPLOST revenue would be going to recreation and animal shelter, that's just unfair.
It sounded like what Charlie told me, that's about how it would work up in Round Acres.
I think the figures that you were using would be if you combined the debt service payment and the recreation and the animal shelter. All those combined,
What?
that would be
What percentage of SPLOST projected revenues goes to debt service?
the debt service. Well, let's see. I'd say maybe 30%.
30%.
That's off the top of
Okay, I'm talking, because we don't know. John made a good point. We don't know. Thank you.
Over the course of the 6 years SPLOST, 12 million would be needed for debt service. And that would finish out that.
Yeah, that's 12, but 74 million, I think.
It's about 16%.
It's about 16.
For debt
So
service.
54, not 80.
Yeah, and then, again, the estimates that you raised there, Doug, on the estimated cost are at the very top of the tier. I don't think this board is even fathomed anything in that neighborhood as far as expenditures. So, there's going to be a sufficient amount of money there was left over for the roads and the other expenses that are currently being incurred on the existing laws at this point in time.
And these are not numbers that we just guessed. These are numbers that were produced for us by the
Steeple.
organization.
For the sake of transparency, it would have been nice for the community to have had a chance to see these, so we could make intelligent comments about what's being proposed instead of,
As you found today, Doug, all you got to do is ask.
well, I know, but we don't even know the rec centers. There's consensus among commissioners until we read it on Facebook.
Well, that's not
Private
something that
votes.
came from us.
Hmm?
That's not something that originated with us. That statement.
I know it wasn't written by you, but it's very accurate from what you're telling me today. So, and I know Commissioner Ferguson had endorsed the post on Facebook. I wasn't sure that it was even legit until I saw that she and our Economic Development Authority had also endorsed the post. So, which again, it appeared legitimate. And this was posted. I appreciate the input. Again, it adds clarity. You're also, though, counting on revenue projections. And we've got an economy that, it's just like the early 2000s. We don't know where it's going to go. I would encourage you not to get too far ahead of yourself in this. No.
And I don't disagree with it.
The project's being discussed, it's been long awaited. I know that rec center has been promised since the joint comprehensive plan of, I think, 2005. And at that time, it was projected to be built by 2014. So
Not by us, it wasn't.
you're a little overdue. But I hope the money's there. I know Kelly's got a horrendous situation with that shelter. And we have got families who are opening their homes to stray animals picked up off the street because there's no room at the shelter. We've got basically people using their own homes in place of a public facility because we like it. And there's public health and safety issues involved with that. So I would urge that to be as much a priority, if not more of a priority than the rec center.
It'll be at least an equal value.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.